this episode of the podcast, kind of a part two from last week, but Jon and I kind of gathered up all the riffing that we did from that episode where we were just kind of talking about all kinds of different things, and I put it together into one episode. So some of the topics we cover, we talk about the rise of the video store again, how physical media and stores that actually sell physical media are starting to grow again, which has been really, really cool. Some ideas that he has for shows and things like that are really funny. He gets an email from kind of some cybersecurity conspiracy theorist that wants to be on, I don't know which podcast it was of Jon's that he wants to be on, maybe PM Entertainment, but he reads the email out loud, and it's hilarious as well. So definitely a lot of different stuff like that we cover there. But it's a fun conversation. I mean, Jon and I kind of have that history of just sort of this kind of riffing sort of thing. The first time I ever did a podcast was Drunk on VHS, which was, at that time he was Mo Porn. I think he's Mo Von Helvet now, but it was his podcast, Drunk on VHS. The other podcast that he did at that time with Doug Tilley was the No Budget Nightmares. No Budget Nightmares was the other one. But so they had me on Drunk on VHS, and Jon was also guesting on that one. And we just kind of went off the whole time. And poor Mo, he was like trying to reel us back in to kind of actually get some semblance of a show. And we were just talking about all kinds of random crazy stuff. And I think that was when we were talking about Hard to Die. And so like Peter Spellos, the late Peter Spellos was in that movie. I didn't know who Peter Spellos was. And I was like, I thought his last name was pronounced Speyos. And suddenly we were calling him Pedro Speyos and all kinds of crazy stuff there. And I was on again on their on Drunk on VHS where we talked about, was it the movie about the Juggers? I can't remember, like, Rise of the Heroes or something like that, or Game of the, I don't know. Remember, it was the movie with Rutger Hauer and Richard Norton, some kind of futuristic game where you use a dog skull or something like that, if you know what I'm talking about. But anyway, kind of a similar thing. We just kind of went off on a whole bunch of tangents. I think at that point, Mo was just like, whatever, just you guys just talk about whatever you're going to talk about. And then, the two of them were doing their own podcast night, and they came to me and said, hey, Matt, you think, we have a good time with you on the show. You seem to be a funny guy. Would you like to, have a podcast on during our night? And I said, yeah, all right, why don't I do that? And that was the original iteration of the podcast. There were live episodes every night, or every Tuesday or Wednesday. I think it was Wednesday at 8 p.m. That was when I had Jamie as my co-host. And so now, of course, we do it a little differently where I record separately, upload separately, and all of that. So one of the things doing it this way now does is that it gives me a greater range of guests, because at that time, really all we could have for guests on were East Coast guests. We would have some people from like the West Coast. Like I remember Richard Pierce, who was the screenwriter who did Sector 4 Extraction, who's been on Comeuppance podcast recently. We had him on one time. He's out in Vegas, and it was kind of difficult to kind of pull that off because it's like 5 p.m. that time. But for the most part, it was all East Coast. But now I can have people from all over the world on, right? Because I can record it any time. But that's really kind of how I got into that podcasting is kind of that kind of thing, And so Jon, when he comes on, when he was on this past time, it was Thursday night that we were recording, and I'd gotten some bad news about my job, and I was kind of just ready to just kind of go for it. Let's just get in there and let's just talk. And we started at like 9:30ish at night, because a lot of times we do start kind of at night there. But it was one of those deals where neither of us had to really be anywhere, so we just kind of went, and it was a good 3.5, 4 hours of just going. And that's sort of what happens sometimes, because when I record late like that, sometimes that helps. That like if I don't have anything else going on and the other person doesn't have anything else going on, sometimes it just goes. People who've been on as guests, you kind of know that too, right? Unless you give me a hard out sometimes, unless I've got a hard out, sometimes we just go. But with Jon, as what happens a lot of times, because we just go like that, I've always tried to figure out what to do kind of with that other material that I really appreciate as well. So if you remember earlier, I think it was last year, he was on, late last year, he was on, we did a Harry Hamlin erotic thriller double feature where we did Save Me and Deceptions. Or it was Deceptions or Deception. I think it was plural with an S. But anyway, we did that one. I broke it into 2 episodes. Did one on a Tuesday and one on a Thursday, and that did work out well. This one seemed to go a little bit differently, where it seemed like the 2 movies fit in one section, and then like all of our riffing kind of happened more at the beginning. So I thought I could kind of do it into 2 episodes. And again, I don't work on that tradition of the guys at Comeuppance where they do episodes, with just, hey, let's just have somebody on and just talk about stuff. Like I was on recently for that kind of thing where we just chatted about things. I thought it kind of fit in that mold as well. So anyway, we'll see, let me know what you think. I hope everybody enjoys this. It was a lot of fun, really fun conversation with Jon there. And so always a pleasure to have him on, just with all of our guests. It's always a pleasure to have all of our guests on. It just sort of works out sometimes with Jon that it kind of, you never know where it's going to go when he's on as a guest. And so, and this time it was like, okay, I got to do something with this extra hour and a half or so of this. There have been ones in the past where I've cut some of it and just left it, was going to do something with it later, and we never ended up doing it. So this time I kind of was able to keep it and save it, and we could do that. So anyway, so hope you enjoy that. We'll do that in just a few minutes here. Then next week, I've got some recording to do. I did record with Ty from Come Up, and speaking of Ty, we did 2 movies from Zumo. Is it Zumo? I think it's Zumo, right? Xumo. We did 12 to Midnight, so we got some Robert Bronzy coming here soon. And then we did Taken at Rio Bravo. Is it Taken at Rio Bravo or Taken from? I think it's Taken at, but maybe it's Taken from too. Whatever it is, it's you know what I'm talking about. The Nevsky movie with Cynthia Rothrock and Don Dragon Wilson has a small part, Matthias Hughes is back. So we do those 2. So that one's going to come up some point here in the month of May. So it just depends on how the other recording goes when I slot that in. I'm looking at possibly the 13th. I think that's where I've got a target for it. That's kind of what I'm thinking is the 13th, but we'll see. We'll see what happens there with the rest of the recording as things go on. And then of course DTVC Extra you did catch recently. I did Daredevil Born Again, so that one is on the podcast. Again, pretty good numbers there compared to some of the other DTVC extras that I've done recently. So I'm glad people checked that out and had to listen to that. Again, didn't do any social for that. I'm not really doing social for DTVC Extra. I'm debating in terms of going forward with DTVC Extra, how that's going to look. I've thought about doing a Patreon, and DTVC Extra would kind of maybe lend itself to extra material for a Patreon if for people that would be paying at different tiers. So that's one idea that I had. I mean, if I do a Patreon, I'm not going to probably gate any current stuff. I mean, again, other than DTVC Extra, that what's already existing on the pod would be there. But like the new episodes of the podcast, they might come out earlier for people that are patrons, but people would still get those. I think if I was doing a Patreon, I'd create new material for the Patreon. So maybe like I might do new different kinds of reviews beyond like my weekly reviews that I do, that kind of thing. But still kind of an idea that I'm throwing around. Now, in the meantime, while I'm kind of sorting out the Patreon, there are ways that you can support the site for sure. So a couple things that you can do. I mean, obviously, the biggest one that you can do is buy one of my books. Naughty and Aiden is my newest book. Links in the podcast description. You can go to my author website, which is also linked in the podcast description, and pick out any of my books. That's always the best way to support the site. But an easier, free way to support the site that always helps, or support the podcast in particular, is to subscribe, rate and subscribe. Sorry, no, not subscribe. Rate and review on whatever podcatcher you use. And the reason why that's a big thing is that the different podcasting venues, they use ratings and reviews to determine what order podcasts get promoted, that kind of thing. So like if you go to say you listen to us on iTunes, and you go to the iTunes in your app and you just give us a 5-star and say, I really like this show, right? That's all you do, right? If that's all you do. I don't know how much time that takes, like maybe like 30 seconds. It doesn't take a lot of time. And again, you might go to the reviews. We don't have a lot of reviews. I think we got about 3. So we're not doing so great. It'd be great if we got more, but you might see that they're kind of bigger reviews, right? You don't have to write a lot. If you just say, I 5 stars, really like this podcast. What that does is it just sort of adds more to the algorithm, and then when people are looking for podcasts, we get pushed up into the rankings more, so more people tend to see us. Now we do rank, we rank internationally. Every once in a while we'll rank in the film reviews for the United States, like sometime in the top 200. Same with like UK, we'll sometimes breach the top 200 for film reviews. But a lot of ours, like New Zealand, we are consistently always ranked there. So we have a lot of fans in New Zealand. And I mean, for fans in New Zealand, if you're listening to us, love to hear what you think of the podcast, and if you want to rate and review as well. I'll always appreciate that. But that's a really great way to support the podcast without spending any money. Another way, of course, that you can support without spending money is just sharing or liking. So even if you see my books and you think, well, I don't want to buy any of your books. I'm not interested in reading any of those. Even if you just give a like to that post on Facebook, that in the algorithm pushes the post out to more people, so somebody else might be more likely to buy it, and again, a way to support the site. So, as I'm looking at ideas for things like Patreon, there are ways that you can support the site now. And of course, just listening is a great way to support the site as well. I always appreciate people that are listening, and feel free, of course, to drop us a line, things that you'd like to see covered and that kind of thing. But yeah, so that's the podcast. And then, of course, with the the site. Recently, we just covered Acts of Vengeance, so we got some more Isaac Florentine on the site. So we did one of his more recent ones that I hadn't covered yet, kind of a gap in the Isaac Florentine or filmography that we hadn't done yet. So we finally got that one up. I think Darkness of Man is going to be this week. So that was a podcast episode I did a little while back. I think it was in January I did that episode with Sean Malloy from I Must Break This Podcast. So that was a really fun conversation about that one. So you can check that one out in the archives. But finally getting the review of that up. So that'll be another Van Damme movie, another Cynthia Rothrock movie. So kind of adding to their tags on there. So it's going to get Cynthia Rothrock closer to 50. She's kind of closing in on that number. And of course, we're going to eventually do Taken at Rio Bravo as well, and Last Kumite, which we did on a podcast episode. So we've got some movies in the hopper for her. So she's going to start kind of moving up the ranks there and maybe get into that 50 club soon. Speaking of which, Cole S. McKay is somebody who I sort of accidentally discovered within the 50 club, right? If you remember, I decided to just tag him. I think it was when we did it wasn't Bedroom Eyes, but it was another Wings Hauser erotic thriller that I did recently, and I saw that Cole S. McKay had done. I was like, well, why don't we tag him? We tag Spiro Rosados, we tag Art Camacho. Let's see what it looks like if we do Cole S. McKay. And he had over 50, and I couldn't believe it. So he was like automatically. I mean, he's essentially the third most tagged at this point. You might notice Millennium Films has a lot of tags. I haven't really kept up with Millennium Films, but yeah, Cole S. McKay just boom. So we got to do a 50 club post for him. I'm probably going to do Savage Salvation. He was a stunt coordinator on that film. So I just have to watch that movie, but that's probably what we'll be doing in the coming weeks as well. And then, of course, when we get to the fall with the Hall of Fame inductions, he's going to get inducted as well, of course, right? He's going to definitely go in the Hall of Fame. So, but look for that as well, that Savage Salvation. I think we've also got Lights Out in the hopper. That was a previous podcast episode with the guys from Comeuppance. Christian Sesma directed that one. I want to try to get more of his movies up, but of course also Frank Grillo's in that one. Scott Adkins, that'll get another tag for Scott Adkins. So again, these movies that have a bunch of people in them, suddenly those tag counts start to go up. So we'll kind of keep an eye out for that. So look for those this weekend here for more. More blog posts. I am a little behind on screeners. I keep talking about wanting to get Baby in the Basket up, so I got to do that one soon, right? Hopefully, I'll find some time to make that one happen as well. But yeah, I think that's everything. We did a little bit of a longer open just because this episode overall is shorter. It's about an hour and a half. So I figured I'd do a little longer open here, just kind of fill things out a little bit more. But yeah, I think that's everything. So why don't we have Jon Cross from Referee Designer playing our theme song, and then we come back. Jon Cross from it's gonna PM Entertainment Podcast. So obviously this is his big thing, but also Be Kind Movie Vault. That's his video store that he has in New Milford, Connecticut, which he is also on eBay. So you can buy his movies on eBay if you can't make it to New Milford, Connecticut. But I figure that's going to be what we'll promote here because he talks about the VHS store in this episode here. So after our theme song, stay tuned for that as John and I have our kind of our free conversation, our free riffing.
Recording is on.
Yes. Welcome back to the direct-to-video.
The voice is so sultry.
Yes. Welcome over to the Direct-to-Video Connoisseur Podcast. It's always this bad. I'm here with John. This is John's first time using Jitsi. So yeah, he's going to use the voice, which it's right. It's essentially it's like what is it? It's not the subway in New York. Is it the one in DC? One of them has a female voice like that. I mean, it's it's like because I know New York.
No, the one in New York goes. The one in New York goes. Stand clear of the closing doors, please. And you're like, am I on a game show? Is this? MTA, the game show. What did I just win?
Yeah, that is like
it's like, well, you just won not getting your legs trapped between the train and the platform. Exactly. Is what you.
Yeah. That's the sound. Yeah, oh man, yeah, because it exactly.
No, the Jitsi voice was like, "We have started recording," and I'm like, "Are we already watching Bedroom Eyes again? Like, is this?" Because it was sultry in a way that like porn in the 70s was sultry. You know what I mean?
Right.
Oh, you must come in and take a look at the lanai. You know what I mean? Or whatever.
Yeah. I mean,
sort of breathy and 70s.
Oh, it's perfect. Like, you could see like Wings Hauser like picking up a phone and hearing that voice and just yeah, and then just like, yeah.
Just licking his lips. Right. And well, it's like, isn't there a whole scene in Cold Fire where the PM Entertainment movie where he's just sat at a desk as he's a cop. He's like, he's meant to be being a cop and doing cop things. And he sat on the phone listening to sex calls, like, 087 numbers or whatever. What were they over here? 0800 numbers or 899 numbers or whatever.
1900, yeah, exactly.
1900 numbers, sorry. Yeah, so he sat there listening to 1900 numbers, like just openly at work in a beige suit. So you're like, listen, beige suits do not leave a lot to the, like if he had become engorged, not that I want to think of Wings Hauser becoming engorged. I don't know, maybe she was on the phone being like, and then you pour milk on me? And he's like, yeah, and then I pour milk on you, baby. And then I go down on you in a bathtub while you're still covered in foam. So I get all this like soapy bullshit in my face. Right. Yeah. It's always bothered me is that she doesn't like, they could have got the shower head. She could have rinsed herself off. But no, he just goes with a face of bubble bath. Yeah. It can't have been nice, dude. It can't have been nice.
No, that's Wings going all out for a movie that he believed in. Yeah, that's...
Yes, I love how we're referencing like 2 PM Entertainment films that most people are just gonna be like, "What are they talking about?" You have to, and this is what I like. Like Jim and I realized this with the After Movie Diner when we were hosting for a long time. Is that you had to listen to the whole journey in order. Like by the time we got to like 2000, 2001, you had to understand jokes from like 2-3 years before that Jim and I had been like telling. Well, now it's like that for you and me. These are jokes that we've been telling, not just over your podcast either, over multiple podcasts, like different podcasts that you have to. So if the audience is not up on it, we're like Yellowstone over here. There's so many fucking spinoffs and yeah.
Right. Yeah, you got. I mean, some of these you got to go all the way back to like Drunk on VHS, right? When we were appearing on that.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, it's exactly. Well, it's actually kind of a good segue because one of the things we're going to open with before we get into our 2 movies this week, we're going to be talking about Bedroom Eyes and Bedroom Eyes 2. But before we get into that, we wanted to chat about your new.
So I'm only laughing because the idea of anyone sitting down and listening to you and me talk about 2 like early to mid-late. Well, actually, no, just mid-late 80s erotic thrillers is so funny to me that anyone's like, I want to know what John and Matt think about these softcore thrills. Anyway, yes, go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry. Well, no, because before we get to that though, we wanted to talk about your new adventure.
Oh yes, my new podcast,
the PM Entertainment Podcast, because it's been getting a lot of love. I think the episodes have been fantastic so far. But I mean, beyond the guests, which the guests are always, it's always great to have our podcasting, us in this community talking about PM Entertainment, giving it some light. But the interviews that you've gotten and the gems that the Marahi, that Spiro Rosados, Kathleen Kinmont on the Wings Hauser one, absolutely fantastic stuff.
Thank you so much, sir. And I just completed interviews with Art Camacho. Got a great interview with him. He is, by the way, the loveliest man who ever existed. Art Camacho, just an incredible soul.
Yeah. Yeah,
he was there on his camera with his dark glasses and his leather jacket.
Yeah.
And his leather jacket, dude, he wore a leather, I don't know whether it was on purpose or not, but he wore a leather jacket that had a Union flag on the shoulder. Like it was, it must have been a biker's jacket or something that had like the Union flag on the shoulder. And I was like, oh man, yeah, you got the Brit flag on your shoulder for thing. He's like, yeah, represent, brother. And he's like the sweetest, nicest. He called me brother. We were like best pals. He texts me. It's wonderful, dude. It's truly beautiful.
He seems like it. He seems like one of the things I always think about was when I first started my site, I killed a lot of his movies because he has a lot of rough ones in that early period of his
Yeah.
his oeuvre, and then when I got to know that it was him, I started seeing his name a lot. I was like kind of started to. It's the same thing happened with Albert Pion. I killed a lot of his movies early and then got to know his movie, so I was better about it. But he had this quote where he said that his favorite director was Ed Wood, because Ed Wood just put his movies out there and didn't care what people thought. And it's kind of like him, where it's like, I don't know if he talked about this, I remember he's what did he say? Something along the lines of, no, one of his movies was the Bigfoot movie. The Little Bigfoot was like one of the first ones he directed.
Yeah, Little Bigfoot. Well, we talked about Little Bigfoot. Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, because I just, it seemed like he just was like, hey, you're gonna let me direct, I'll direct.
Oh yeah, no. He said more than 3 or 4 times, and I think Spiro kind of said the same thing. Although Spiro had a whole career going before he ever did anything with PM, that PM gave him a career. Like Art Camacho was like, I'm nothing without PM. He's like, PM, get my love all day, every day, from now until forever. Like he was just so thankful to Joseph and Rick on the interview. And I also got to speak to Ken Blakey, who along with Rick shot most PM films. Ken Blakey was one of the two. If Rick is the other cinematographer for PM and he shot a lot of their stuff, Rick and Ken, they defined what we now think of as the PM look. I mean, there was a look, you know what I mean? Yes. And sorry?
Oh, no, I was saying yes. I was agreeing with you. Yeah, no, I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a real look, like whether it's the nighttime one, like I always think of like right up until about 94, a lot of the stuff is filmed at night. Yeah. It just is. It's like Hollywood Boulevard. It's sleazy. It's, dark. Explosions look great against the night sky, that kind of thing. And also, Rick said in his interview, I think he said, well, it's so lit up at night, you don't have to put many cameras on, many lights on the street to get your shots. You know what I mean? But what that meant is they just bathed their movies in this like neon, these neon hues. And then of course you get a few more that are in the daytime once you kind of get to, I mean, Zero Tolerance has some stuff at night, but like there's some day stuff in Zero Tolerance. Riot has huge sections that are in the daytime. They start to get a little more, obviously Steel Frontier is almost entirely in sort of the heat of the sun. And they start to experiment a little more and their palette changes a little bit. But the initial PM look, I feel like was so defined by Ken and Rick. So yeah, I've got some interviews with Ken coming up. And what else have we got going on? I mean, the new episode isn't out yet because this week has just been a mind fuck of cosmic proportions. So for lots of reasons, work reasons, and because I don't know if you've noticed, Matt, but the world is going to hell. Well, America's going to hell, and the world is seemingly either completely befuddled by it, is trying to figure out how they can benefit from it, and then the other third of the world is following us for some fucking reason. England's just like, what's happened to America? Oh, they're losing democracy and due process. Oh, great, we'll take some of that. Like that, I mean, England is just like stepping up, which means, by the way, I have nowhere to go. If the shit goes down, both fucking I'm like fucked completely. Right. Yeah. Anyway, that's beside the point. So, because someone somewhere is now listening to this and being like, oh, there's a guy in Connecticut who wants to leave, and they'll send me to a gulag in El Salvador. Probably. I don't know. No idea.
Make sure
maybe they won't. I don't know.
Any La Liga Spanish soccer team tattoos, you might be okay. I think that's
I might be okay.
I do have a tattoo.
I do have a Danbury Hat Tricks ice hockey pin. Is that allowed?
Yes, that's awesome. I love that.
Look at that, the little Danbury hat trick. It's a little bunny rabbit with a top hat.
Oh, so do they still play? I've never seen them before.
So the Danbury ice hockey team, they've tried to establish like a long-running franchise in Danbury for decades. When you go to their when you go to their ice rink, it's like for 2 years they were called the Danbury. They were actually the Danbury Whalers for 2 years, because of course that had been the hockey team that had left Connecticut. They were the Danbury Whalers for a couple of years. They were the Danbury Mad Hatters or something like that. because Danbury used to be a big hat town, a big chapeau town. They were the Trashers. For if anyone's seen the documentary on Netflix, and I recommend everyone go see the documentary on Netflix, the Danbury ice hockey team was run by organized crime for like 2.5 years. And by the way, during that 2.5 years, phenomenally good hockey was played. It was like it was like Slapshot meets the Battered Bastards of baseball. Like it was totally the mismatched, underdog, weirdo. There were twins. There was literally twins on the team. Like it's like Slapshot, the real life thing, if it was run by organized crime. So, and I'm actually wearing a Slapshot t-shirt tonight.
Oh, yes, nice. The Chiefs. Yeah. Awesome.
The Chiefs. Because I got that from my buddy T-shirt Joe from Fast Custom Shirts when I was out in Pittsburgh at Horror Realm. He was selling them, and I was like, I got to get myself a Chiefs shirt. That's fantastic. But in fact, that weekend I got 2 hockey themed shirts. One was Slapshot and one was Sudden Death. He had a Van Damme Sudden Death tee. So I'm like, got to have a Van Damme Sudden Death t-shirt. And of course, the Maple Leafs, my team, just head of their division, going into the playoffs, which means they'll probably balls it up by game 5 or 6.
So the Leafs this year, the team that I would worry about in the East for the Leafs is the Capitals. I got to see them play a couple times, and they look good. Like Ovechkin, but not just that, but the rest of that team, they look good. But otherwise, there a lot of the teams, like the Bruins, for whatever reason, always beat the Maple Leafs. They can't beat anybody else, but they beat the Maple Leafs. They're out. So the Maple Leafs.
Florida is who we have to worry about now. The Lightning and whatever. They're the ones that have been whipping our butts too the last few years.
So interesting, because somebody had said that this was the first time in the history of the NHL since the original 6 came. So you know what it is?
Yeah.
They were saying this was the first time that none of the original 6 were in the playoffs, but the Maple Leafs are in the playoffs. They're one of the original 6.
Yeah, what are they talking about?
I have no idea.
What are they talking about? Of course they're original 6. They're original 4, dude.
Right,
the Maple Leafs are like the original 4.
Right, exactly.
If you go back to when they were the St. Patrick's.
Right, yeah. Well, because the whole point of the original 6, the original 6 are really the leftover 6, right? It was like after World War II, or they were the ones who were left over. It was, obviously, the 2 Canadian teams. Because Montreal lost their second team. They lost the Maroons, their English-speaking team, but they had the Canadians and the Blue Jays. But they had the Bruins, Rangers, Blackhawks, and the Red Wings. That was those were the original 6. And so, so I think all the American original 6, and I think Montreal's out, but the Maple Leafs are in. That is an interesting run. That out of those 6 teams, at least one of them has made the play. I mean, granted, 16 teams make the playoffs every year, but one of those 6 has made it every year.
And we've made the playoffs the last 5 years.
Yeah,
at least I think.
Right, exactly.
So we've made the playoffs. This current team with Matthews and Marner being their, the 2 names most people know. They have made the playoffs. I think at least the last 4, if not the last 5. And last year we went to the second round of the playoffs for like 3 games or so, 2 games or something, and then we were out. But apart from that, we've always bottled it in like game 6 or 7 of the first round of the playoffs. So we'll see, dude. And listen, I'm going to remain positive. But no, so I went and saw, because ever since watching the Thrashers documentary, I'm like, we got to go see the hockey. We got to go to Danbury. It's 35 minutes south. Let's go support like a mad little local team. That'd be great, right? And then now the Hat Trick. So they've been the Hat Tricks, I think, for like 3 years, and they're trying to keep that name stick. They want to stick that now. They want to stay the Hat Tricks. They don't want to sell. They want to keep playing, and they are invariably either one or first or second in their division. They're doing pretty well. And we saw them play the Buffalo team. Right. Buffalo team? No, Binghamton team. What am I talking about? The Binghamton team. Yeah. Which are their main rivals. So Binghamton and Danbury Hat Tricks are either 1 or 2 in the division, and they've been battling it out. And Danbury does pretty well. the night we went to see them, of course they lost, because of course they had to, because the night we went to see them. But we were at a charity event in January, and there was one of these auctions where you just go around and you buy a bunch of tickets and you just dump the tickets in for different things. And one of our local bars here, the guy has season tickets, and so he was doing 4 seats for a hat tricks game. And I was like, put all the tickets there. I want to go see the hat tricks. We probably put like $50 worth of tickets in for like a $20 game or whatever it was. But dude, it's the best. Like, if I can keep talking hockey for 5 minutes, if you don't mind, because I know you love this shit. Dude, it's the best. So the Danbury Ice Arena, it's a great place. You go in, dude, it's like a fucking carnival in there. They had a rock band, a local rock band, who, by the way, were playing some very impressive covers. They were like doing hard rock punk covers of like 50s, 60s, and 70s, like rock and roll. Yeah. And it was just, dude, it was so pleasing and that's so amazing. Happy. And they're the guys slinging beer, and someone else making popcorn over here. Someone's selling some shirts and pins. And it's all in this, it's a little local ice rink. It's not like going to Madison Square Garden or the Coliseum or what's the one out in Jersey? I've been to it, but the Prudential Center.
Yes,
it's not like going to any of those. It's like a local ice rink. Yeah. It's like what the kids skate on free skates on Saturday. You know what I mean? But they just filled the whole thing up with fun and laughter. People came all dressed up, and there's like the animal corner where like everyone makes a bunch of noise. It's literally like labeled like Animal House and all this sort of stuff. It's great, dude. Like, it's a total fun, like, weird, bizarre thing, and I had the best fucking time. I got myself a long sleeve tee and a pin, so I'm now a hat tricks for life, baby. Yeah. I'm going to support the Danbury Hat Tricks and the Toronto Maple Leafs, and you can't tell me I'm not allowed to, Matt. That's a beautiful thing.
No, that sounds. No. What do they play in like the tiers of like ECAC and AHL, or are they kind of independent league?
They are a NHL. They might be the AHL. Let me look it up. Hang on. They're with the Federal Prospects Hockey League. So they're the FPHL.
Okay. So
we're with the Empire Division.
Right. Okay. So it's a low. Yeah, I think there's a team that plays in that league that plays somewhere near here, but it's not anywhere that I can get to without a car. That's one of those deals. But yeah, it's one of the weird things about Philadelphia is that it's easier to just go see the Flyers and like walk to that, than it is to like go see like minor.
Well, dude, again, when you're taking a train up to Maine or Boston or wherever. Yeah. Come a couple of days early, stop in New York. I'll pick you up from the city, and we'll go to a game or something. It'll be great.
Yeah, definitely. I'd love to see. Yeah. Well, there's them, and then there's the Bridgeport team, that the Islanders. I want to see a game there as well. So, and I think even Hartford has a team. It's like everybody's got a team in Connecticut.
They do. The Wolf isn't it the Wolf Pack?
Yes, the Hartford Wolf Pack. Yeah.
I think that's Hartford, right?
Yeah, the Hartford Wolfpack. I don't know who they're affiliated with, but yeah, I think Springfield, Connecticut has a team.
Dude, they have a badass logo as well.
Yeah.
I like how these they're the AHL. Hartford Wolfpack are the AHL.
Yeah.
But the Hartford Wolfpack, like, I love that these smaller leagues, because hockey, by the way, has the best logos of any sports ever. Yes. Hockey's, I mean. Just look at the Oilers logo. It's like some tripped out late 60s, early 70s, like psychedelic. It's beautiful. Yeah. The Maple Leafs, like, they've fucked with the Leaf a little bit. I don't know how much I feel about the new logo, but still, it's a great classic logo. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And all of them have great logos. Well, I'm here to tell you, dude, the lower divisions, the lower leagues, they have some great logos too, man. We got a little bunny rabbit in a top hat. They've got this badass wolf pack that just looks like a werewolf, and the wolf pack it's all written in like Wolfenstein font, right?
Yeah, it's beautiful stuff, because so the nearest team to us is Reading, but we really can't get to Reading, and I think also like Lehigh Valley. So it used to be here in Philadelphia. And this was before I moved here. They had 2 arenas. They had the Spectrum, and then they opened what is now the Wells Fargo Center. But they kept the Spectrum open, and they had the AHL team play there. So you could see AHL hockey across the street from NHL hockey. But then they got rid of that, and they moved that team to Allentown. So Philadelphia is a weird city in this. It was weird compared to like New York or Boston, where the satellite cities are accessible by train.
Yeah.
It's like you can go take a
Yeah.
train from New York all the way to Buffalo if you want, but you can't get a train from Philadelphia to Allentown, Scranton. You can't get one to Reading. You can get all the way to Harrisburg, but for the most part, you can't just, it's not like it's in New York or Boston. Boston, I can get a train to Portland, Maine if I want. I can get a bus up to Manchester or something. For whatever reason, Philadelphia is not connected to the satellite cities around it. It's weird like that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and that's a shame because I think Eastern PA has a lot to offer, and Western PA does as well. Yeah. It's the middle of PA that has literally nothing to offer as far as I can figure out. And no offense to all the people who go to the University of Pennsylvania. I understand that you're out there in the middle of nowhere.
Right. Oh, Penn State.
Oh, sorry, Penn State.
Yeah, because the University of Pennsylvania is here. Yeah, because Penn State, I know Penn State.
Sorry, Penn State. I'm sorry. I forget that Pennsylvania has two
eliminated
universities.
They eliminated my University of Maine Black Bears in the hockey college hockey
Oh,
tournament.
really?
So, yeah, which frustrated me because Penn State, they have like a football stadium, like an American football stadium.
Yeah,
seats like over 100,000 people. They've got a basketball. There are all these other sports. They could leave hockey to us in Maine. We just let us have hockey.
Right.
You got everything else. No, they. So, yeah.
Well, that's like us in Florida, or like when you lose to like a hot state, when like Arizona or California or Vegas or Florida, like when any of those win, and I think the Vegas team have beaten the Leafs a couple of times. Whenever they win, I'm like, guys, listen. You've got like legalized prostitution, legalized gambling, 24-hour drinking. Like, can you give us the hockey for the love of sweet Jesus? Can you give us the hockey? Like they're all up there in Toronto freezing their fucking hats off. The guys down in Vegas are by the pool with huge cigars getting blown by a variety of women on any given night. And of course they're going to play better hockey.
Right, exactly. Well, because that's the thing, right? I think for the Canadians, they love the idea of living in southern states. It's beautiful for them. So that's why those teams are so good.
Right.
Everybody wants to move to them. It's like, yeah, I want to live in LA. I want to live, me personally, no. But for them.
Well, doesn't Matthews come from, isn't he from Florida?
He's from Phoenix. Yeah.
Oh, from Arizona. Sorry, Arizona. Yeah. I knew he was from one of the hot countries. Yeah, countries, hot states. He's from Arizona. Who's from Florida? There's someone from Florida on the Leafs.
Oh, could be.
Or am I thinking of the Yankees?
No, you might be right.
Anyway.
Yeah.
It always just makes me think, what? And you traded in Arizona. You could have played for the local Arizona team.
Right.
But no, he wants to come up to the cold white north. And look, bless Matthews. He's been our unlucky star, but very lucky. Like during main season, yes, Matthews all day long and twice on Sundays. During the playoffs, boys better step up this year. They better step up this year. The Leafs fans say this every year, and they never do.
No. The thing about Matthews that's interesting is that when you watch him live, the thing that doesn't translate to the TV game when you watch him live is how much he plays at both ends of the ice. Like on TV, you think of him as a sniper. He scores, all those things. But the things he does in his own end, you don't see it as much. And I wonder when he gets into the playoffs, it's almost like I wonder if he focuses maybe too much on being the defensive end and kind of doing everything, and he needs to just score. Just put the puck in the net. But he also had trouble scoring when he was playing with the U.S. team when they were playing against Canada in the Four Nations Cup. He couldn't score in that game either. So,
well, what I loved about that was that Mana was on the Canadian team and Matthews was on the American team, and I was just like, whoever wins, I'm good. Whoever wins, I'm good.
Yes.
Now, I was happy that Canada won. Of course, I was happy that Canada won. You always want Canada to win.
Yes.
But because they invented the damn thing, it's but so they should win. But either way, I was good. You know what I mean? Either way, I was like, fucking, I don't care. I get Matthews or Mana, like I win.
Exactly. Yeah. So go Leafs. Again, because I don't have a team in this. I mean, the Flyers haven't been good. My wife and I are figuring out. We think it's 2015 was the last time they made the playoffs.
Flyers. That's another great logo, though.
Isn't that great?
The Flyers, another badass logo. It's a great logo, dude.
Yeah.
And the same color as your Moxie.
My Moxie. Yes, exactly. People think I'm supporting the Flyers. I never even thought of it. I could wear this hat to games. When I go, because the only hat I have, the only Flyers hat I have is this big winter hat, which actually came in handy. Because it's like I've got this big pump that whatever.
I'm just imagining you sitting. It's like a late season game in the playoffs. Like maybe they've got through to round 3 or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's, we're into June, we're into July,
Right.
and you're sat there in short sleeve and shorts, but a big woolly Russian hat, looking like a non-ironic character in like a Revenge from the Nerds sequel. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. No, but it's a good point, because I could just wear this, and I mean, granted, the other night it was warm. I went Tuesday because like I was telling you, they were playing the Blue Jackets, and it was like a $10 ticket. I'd never seen the Blue Jackets, so I've got 11 teams left to see live. That I haven't.
Nice.
So I can mark the Blue Jackets off the list. But it was warm when I went to the game, but when I left, it was cold. It was like for I don't know for our international audience, but for our American audience, it was in the 40s and windy. So I was glad I had the winter hat then.
Well, yeah, yesterday was pretty brisk, but today's been nice and warm and sunny.
Yeah. Exactly.
But no, so hockey, which is keeping me happy. That's a good thing. What's keeping me happy, a really lovely thing happened today. And again, Matt, you can edit this out if you want, but there's a guy who came into my video store in New Milford, Connecticut, a while ago, Shane T. French, who, we've subsequently become friends, and we chat and then send each other stuff and things. And, or rather he sends me stuff. I haven't sent him anything yet, but I will start sending him stuff. He's an artist. I don't know if you remember, but I did a post a while back where someone had sent me like these 4 cool cartoons, and they were sort of horror cartoons, but also kind of romantic horror cartoons, and I had them framed and put them up on the wall. Well, that's Shane French, and he's awesome, and he's just done a coloring in book that everyone should go buy from Amazon. Shane T. French coloring in book. I'll give Matt the link. But he today sent me. He had taken my Be Kind Movie Vault logo and my colors and everything, framed out one of like a series of his cartoons of all different horror characters and things, and put the address of the store at the bottom. So he's done these whole cool things, right?
Yeah.
And you can see it's got my logo and the address, but then he's drawn these like cool things in the middle. Do you know he shipped these out to like 10 of his like horror friends? He used to work at Fangoria, and he shipped it out to like Heather Buckley and like real famous horror authors. He's sending my shop around free advertising. Amazing. How fucking cool is that, man?
That is amazing. It's another thing. So for people listening, if you're not in the Connecticut area, right, you've got your shop on eBay, I think, right? So people can buy movies.
I do, yes. Be Kind Movie Vault on eBay. Just Google it. It's there.
Yeah. But if you're in the New Milford, Connecticut area, stop in. I've got to make that. That's another trip I've got to make up there so I can see it. Because they follow, definitely follow on Instagram, because you see all the videos that you make of your store. The great collection of stuff that you have there. There's all kinds of.
Thanks, man. And since I opened, we have had, I think, 3 new stores open that are video stores. And one of the video stores that I follow online has expanded. So Static Tape up in Michigan, I think he is. He expanded to a much bigger location at the mall that he's in. He's still in a mall. Like in the Midwest, they're like, oh, malls are still banging. Not only they're banging, but the video store is moving to a bigger fucking location. It's so cool to watch him succeed, man. It's so beautiful to watch him succeed. And then since then, we've had a guy in New Jersey open up a VHS, DVD, and vinyl store. And I'm crap with names. It's something like it's not rock and roll, but it's something like that. I can't think of the name of it. Anyway, it's like Rock and Roll Video or something like that. And they're down in New Jersey, and they've opened up. And now there's one in Williamsburg in Brooklyn. So a new video store, the local Fox affiliate was covering it, and they posted it on Instagram, the footage of it. It's I mean, obviously it's Williamsburg, so it's like some fucking hipster place and whatever, but and it was so funny because actually I did like this. This was score 1 for the hipsters. We were they were on the news, and the woman interviewing her in the store, and it's of course this woman with piercings and tattoos and mad hair, and while at the same time wearing like a 1950s retro house dress. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yes,
the kind of people you expect to see in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. Anyway. The woman's interviewing her, And she goes, you know, blah, 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 blah. You know, like Blockbuster back in the day, the vintage nostalgia of Blockbuster or whatever. And the woman looked right down the barrel, the woman with the nasal piercing and everything like that, looked right down the barrel and goes, well, actually, we don't think kindly of Blockbuster being an enormous corporation and everything. But yes, the nostalgia of the video store nonetheless.
Right.
And I was just like, fucking
yes.
I was like, if you're gonna come down to a fucking Brooklyn video store and start talking about Blockbuster, we're gonna give you a piece of our mind. So, dude, it gives me great hope. It gives me great thrills. I'm so glad that I don't know, it's becoming a thing, and I like that it's becoming a thing.
Yeah, I think there's a couple things that are happening. I think one is younger people who, like you said, are kind of maybe more from that Blockbuster age. They're getting nostalgic, but I think part of it is they're getting nostalgic, but I think part of it is I think the thing about streaming that you can't do. So, our apartment's small. We don't really have a place to put our movies and everything like that. So that's why, streaming kind of is a better deal for us. But I think for a lot of people, you can't display your streaming, like, what am I going to put up a bunch of TV sets and you can see all the thumbnails, right? Of all, right.
Yeah.
but the VHS, you can display it and be like, okay, what am I going to pick from the shelf? But also people can walk in and be like, oh, you've got that movie. Oh, I like that one. Like I can see, like, you've got the PM
Although,
set.
dude, you've just given a serious, like, retro hipster an idea where they go and buy, you remember the little Sony or Toshiba portable TV sets that were about the size of a radio, and they had he's gonna go buy like 1 million of them. Like, he's gonna max out credit cards on eBay. He's gonna put them all on the wall, and on each one is just gonna be one thumbnail from his watch list on like Tubi or whatever. You know what I mean? And he's gonna make sure, he's gonna rig it somehow that these little Toshiba, 2-inch by 2-inch TVs are all showing a thumbnail. You've just given someone, like the guy who lives in a house that's made out of Titanic VHS. You're just you have too much time on your hands.
Right, exactly. Well, what would be funny about that is if somebody does that, and then like Tubi takes the movie down, right? Because that's the other part of this. That's the other piece of this, right? Is that when you buy it, right? Like if I buy a VHS from your store, like Tubi's not, or Netflix, they're not just going to come and take it from me. Though it's funny.
Well, I don't know the way the country's going, Matt. Who knows?
Ty and I, it's funny. Ty and I would do this thing on his.
We're only 3 months in, dude. 6 months in.
I know.
3 months in right now, right? 6 months in could be Trump gives Netflix the power to come round and steal your physical media. And literally Netflix has an ice-like Gestapo who come around and steal your VHS tapes. Yeah.
Because Ty and I actually came up with, we were joking. So we would come up with these like crazy ideas for movies. And then part of it was a thing on his show, on the Comeuppance Guy show. It was called No Subject, where we'd come up with these crazy ideas for movies and we'd give them to Brett, and then he would comment on them. And one of them was this idea that Netflix would come in and take people's VHSs after a certain period of time. That was the idea. But it is kind of crazy that we're in a world right now where, like, Netflix is probably, well, let's see, what can we get from, something like that. So
yes, I don't like that everyone's buying Blu-ray anymore. We need to go fucking, I don't know why he talks like this. Why does the head of well, I don't know why he talks like this, but that's how I imagine he talks. Targwin, we can't possibly have everyone buying Blu-rays. Anyway, fuck Netflix, and they're in 6 months' time. They will be, you'll see me on the news being dragged out of my house, kicking and screaming, while they burn my VHS on the lawn. And it just zooms in through the flames. And Kim and my 2 dogs are in the bay window, and Kim just has a solitary tear. And that's just how the news item ends. And you can just hear me in the background. You burned my wings, Hauser, you son of a bitch. And it just zooms in through the smoke to Kim's solitary tear.
Well, because
cut to black.
Tonight's episode, the movies we're going to be talking about tonight actually fit this, because you've got both of these on VHS. I had to
I
watch
do,
them on a
yes.
service called Cult Pix, which I discovered Cult Pix is just a glorified YouTube that charges you money every month without commercials.
Yeah.
For $6.66, I was watching VHS rips, one of which, the second movie, Bedroom Eyes 2, was taken from Joe Bob Briggs's The Movie Channel, his show on the Movie Channel, where they just taped it. So it had the opening with Joe Bob Briggs and the end with Joe Bob, and then the movie, and at a couple points it said auto tracking across it. And I was like, okay, so again, score one for physical media, right? Like you're just kind of sitting there, you put
Right.
in your tape, you're watching it, it's you got the jacket and everything. Here I am, like futzing around.
No, I love how they got your money. That's such a scam.
Yeah.
That's such a bald-faced scam. Some dude somewhere in the Midwest, right, scanned his VHS years ago. He was like, "Oh, fuck physical media." He's painstakingly scanned his VHS forever until he realized that VHS wasn't going away, and suddenly he got rid of all his favorite movies, and he was like, "Fuck! All right, how do I charge people to watch my collection?" And he just put this website together, and he's charging $666. That should have been the fucking clue right there, buddy.
Yeah, and did he even remember? He must have forgotten that he had taped it off the Movie Channel on Joe Bob Briggs's. I forgot that Joe Bob.
Or he
Briggs
didn't
even had
care
a show.
because he just didn't give a fuck.
No.
He didn't care. Yeah,
it's crazy because you think of Joe Bob Briggs now, with the Mutant Fam and kind of like those big, the Joe Bob's Driving. But that's where he started, was the Movie Channel. Then he moved to TNT. And so I had forgotten about that. I mean, you see, he's like young. It's like a young Joe Bob Briggs. He's in Las Vegas and he's.
Oh yeah, no, I've seen a ton of those. Yeah, I've watched.
Yeah.
I even have. There's a DVD series he did where he did commentaries on movies like Blood Sisters and Samurai Cop, and I've got a bunch of those. And so I've seen clips from those. Also, the Wings Hauser interview that I talked about when we first did the Wings Hauser show, that was on a Joe Bob Briggs episode. There's loads of clips on YouTube. I mean, I know Darcy the Mail Girl is scanning them and putting them up on Patreon or whatever for a free, but there's loads of clips on YouTube.
Yeah. I mean, it was a funny thing. If I wasn't paying money for it, I think it would have been more of a novel. But it was, I mean, again, it was very much. I mean, like, it wasn't a clear picture. So I mean, you got the better. So again, people should be going to a Be Kind Movie Vault in New Milford. And,
it wasn't a clip.
Right. I got Fuzzy Wings for the second movie, just to give I also I got Fuzzy Wings and Fuzzy Kip Gilman in the first movie. So yeah.
And I I played drums for Fuzzy Kip Gilman, but
Fuzzy Kip Gilman. That's a great band.
He was a jazz trombonist from New Orleans. Fuzzy Kip Gilman.
Right, we're opening for the group of Danbury, right? Fuzzy Kip Gilman, yes.
Yeah.
Would Fuzzy Kip Gilman be more of like a jazz kind of fusion thing, where maybe like?
Well, that's what I said. He's a jazz trombonist from New Orleans.
Right. Is he playing the? Oh, you're saying it's a guy, Fuzzy Kip Gilman. I was thinking a group, but I like the guy. Yeah, smooth jazz. Yeah, somebody playing the wire drums.
I'm just in the background. I'm just doing the brushes.
Yeah.
Tonight, Fuzzy Kip Gilman lays down a smooth groove here on the boob tube.
I mean, he could have been doing the music for this movie.
Yes. I mean, Bedroom Eyes has one of the best soundtracks ever. Oh wait, I just remembered one of my bits that I want to tell you. It fits with the DJ thing.
Yes, yeah.
The Fuzzy Kip Gilman. I don't know what I want to do with this, but I have this idea for a character, and he's the guy at the bar who thinks he's got he's older, much older, but he thinks he's got the hot take on something, and he's always proselytizing about random things. So the one that I've come up with is and he always has to use this phrase as well, who was never given his due? Barry Manilow. Barry Manilow was never given his due, and he always tries to make someone who isn't hit, what I mean? Yeah. People who don't talk about it so much anymore. El DeBarge. Nobody's talking about El DeBarge anymore. So it's just, and I don't know where the character goes from there. I just really like the idea of a guy at the end of the bar who has horseshit hot takes.
Right.
You know who's overrated? Billy Joel. Billy Joel overrated. Oh, I can't stand it. Piano Man. Oh, give me a break. Right. You know who never got his due though? Barry Manilow never got his due. Manilow never got his due. So I don't know what to do with that character, but I really like him. I really kind of love him.
It's funny because this kind of dovetails a bit with, I've been watching, the Daredevil Born Again series, and there's this guy, I don't know the actor's name. I probably should have looked him up before we did the show, but he plays the Commissioner Gallo. So he's kind of like an antagonist to Wilson Fisk, to the Kingpin or whatever. But he reminds me of the guy at the bar with the hot takes who'd be there by himself. Like you go to a bar and the bartender's almost kind of like warning you not to sit too close to him because the hot takes are coming. Like I could see the guy, like that's the guy. That's what I picture in my head as the character.
He's the guy. He's the guy you sit down next to in like. He's not in Vegas. He's like in Barstow or somewhere. You know what I mean? He didn't make it to Vegas. He never got as far as Vegas. He got to Barstow and ran out of cash. He's that guy, right? Yes, exactly. And he sat at the bar in Barstow, and of course, he would say something like this. And I've heard this, but he would say, Elvis. Everyone talks about Elvis. You know what they don't talk about? Mel Torme. No one is talking about Mel Torme. Could sing the pants off Elvis. Mel Torme, you kidding me? What pipes on this guy? Mel Torme. Like that's the hot take. The hot take is fuck Elvis. Right. What about Bobby Darin or something? Whatever.
Yeah, but it's like that thing, right? When you go to the bar, right, you're there with your friends, and the bartender is almost kind of like, "Don't sit at that stool." And when you sit there, he kind of like, "Oh," And it's almost like, and then when the guy when he starts talking to you, the bartender's just kind of cleaning his glasses, like, it's just kind of I'm sorry, I didn't get my hand up to get the clean. This is my cleaning glasses.
So what happens in our local, invariably, this is the nightmare scenario, because there is a local guy at our bar, and he talks about Matt. Some of the stuff he comes up with, it's fucking phenomenal. It's A grade solid gold horse shit. Like it is horse shit from a pro. This is a guy, I'm not even kidding, right? His name's Bob. Yeah. And he sits there in sweatpants and a dirty long sleeve t-shirt that looks like he slept in it for at least 3 days. Right. There are stains on it, Matt, I don't even want to be able to describe on your podcast. And he will sit there and talk about how he's been offered private jets to fly to the winter games. And you're like, did you look at yourself in the mirror this morning? And you expect me to believe that anybody who even owns a seat on a railway, not even a private jet, someone who owns their own seat on a railway, do you even think he's going to give up anything for you? Who are you kidding? You just crawled here from another bar. The last thing you are is some sort of hot shit jet setter. But anyway, that guy who I can tolerate for about 10 minutes before I have to leave. Right. If you walked into our local, right, and you've got to imagine it's a long, thin corridor. You've got the bar on the left with everyone's backs to you on the bar stools. And then you've got these two tops that run down the right side wall. And you have to kind of do this gauntlet when you walk in through the front door down through this thing, right? And you'll see Bob at the bar, right? And you'll go, oh, Bob's here. Okay, we don't want to sit at the bar. Let's go towards the two-top, the two-top. And then just as you get to the two-top, the two people next to Bob get up and leave. Yeah. And Bob goes, oh, guys, there's a place at the bar. And you just go, oh, no, because you haven't even put your bag down yet. So it's not that you can go, oh, well, we were all comfortable here. Now, you're just about to get to the two-top. And he's like, oh, guys, these two seats open up. No, I don't want to sit next to him. He smells of cabbage.
Yeah. No, I remember there was a bar. So we had a friend who lived in Seabrook, New Hampshire. And so we went and visited him one time, and he had a local, that we went and drank with. And this was like right after 9/11. And this guy had turned, this friend, he had turned like kind of Dennis Miller conservative kind of deal. And so he was getting insufferable, but he wasn't quite there yet. We were kind of still okay with him. So we're hanging out, and there was one of those guys at the bar who overhears him spouting like random conservative stuff. So this guy's got to mosey on up with his, thick New Hampshire accent. Yeah, I listen to what he's saying there. That's not correct. I don't think that's right. So I kind of interject with whatever things I'm learning at University of Maine anthropology courses. He's like, see, that guy knows what he's talking about there, and he's like, listen, Matt, do you know anything about the Celts? And I was like, I don't know. You need to study the Celts. He's just going on this whole thing about how the Celts came to the New World, to the Americas, like way before the Vikings.
They always have a theory.
Right.
They always have a theory. It's always some kind of hot take theory.
Oh, and he's
it's always. I had one of them at once come over to me at a bar and go, you're English, man. I can't help notice, but you're English, right? You're from England. The Queen, England. And you're like, yeah, I'm from England, the Queen. Yeah, whatever. He goes, the Queen, that broad owns everything. She fucking owns America still. And you go, what? She doesn't even wield executive power over her own subjects. What does she own? What are you talking about? Oh, she owns America. She owns everything. She owns all the banks. We're still in the back pocket of England and the royal family. Goes on about this for hours. Yeah. I'm sat there and I'm like, can I just have a drink? Like I was just having a minute ago, I was having a drink. Now I'm having to listen to the rambling madnesses of this smelly ancient gentleman who I don't want to be conversing with, but just because I have this accent, he's like, oh, there's a British guy. I want to talk to him about how the Queen owns everything.
Right. Well, because part of that comes from the fact that the way we teach the what we call the American Revolution War here in America, the way we teach it is it's as if like America's throwing off the yoke of British imperialism when we fought the war. When from England's side of it, it was people really want to do this? Like we did, like what you're complaining about? Like you just don't want to pay us taxes? Like that's really what this is about? And it was like by the time they figured out that like, oh yeah, America's really doing this, it was like, oh, it's too late. It wasn't like in India where they were like crushing rebellions and things like that. They were like, okay, America's doing this because War of 1812. England came in and showed exactly like if they had had it together and said, I think sending a lot of like German, Hessian stuff like that. But it was just America. It's just saying like, no, we want to cut out the middleman with the imperialism. That's really essentially what it was.
Yeah,
we want to take all the spoils.
No. Make no mistake. We love imperialism.
Right.
We just don't want your imperialism.
Right.
We want our own. We'd like some of our own imperialism. Right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, but we don't teach it that way. We teach it like England. We teach it as if America was like India or
like you were scrappy rebels. Yeah, like you were scrappy rebels fighting the giant thing, but you weren't. You were Puritans and anyway.
We were just essentially what we were. We were the rich people that weren't in the class system to be able to move up. At that time, you couldn't move up. So it was like people like Thomas Jefferson, like they had some money but not enough, And they were like, well, if I go to parties in England, nobody's going to want me in the best parties. I can't hang out with Beau Brummels or whoever, at that time, right? It's like So let's make our own party here in America, and
Oh, loved it. I mean, I've said before, America loves aristocracy. Right. Absolutely loves it. Absolutely loves it. They love dynasties and aristocracy. I mean, Yellowstone is basically just the crown for Americans. That's I mean, it's basically what it is. Yeah. It's just like big wealthy landowner, but this is what I love about Yellowstone, right? This family, right, raped and pillaged this land for the Native Americans, right? Have stolen it for 5 generations from the Native Americans. Just fucking outright fucking stuff. These guys are the worst fucking scumbags on the planet. And yet, Yellowstone has convinced us all, it's the person who wants to build an airport and make money from this land. No, they're the evil ones. Right. The family that stole it from the Native Americans and have held it by force, by brute illegal force for generations of family. No, those are the underdogs. Right. Only in America could one of the most successful TV shows be an argument between an incredibly wealthy person and more incredibly wealthy people, and everyone just be like, "Oh, this is fantastic underdog storytelling." No, it's not. They're horrible white raper, pillager, Native American killers, and they can all go to fucking hell. That whole bit where he went like through a whole like Native American buffalo trance or some horseshit. I was just
Oh,
like, oh,
it's
you
the
have to
worst
stay
stuff.
outside under a tree.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the worst stuff.
Oh,
Yeah.
it is. Yeah, and what's amazing is that kind of stuff is still like 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 my sister, my siblings all have kids, and I think if they had any of their kids go to like Halloween parties dressed as like tradition, like kind of that hokey kind of Native American outfit, it would be considered bad. Like, so there's certain aspects of it, but then you would also, like, if you took a picture of one of my nieces or nephews in one of those Halloween outfits, there are older relatives would be like, "Oh, they look so cute. Oh, they're so great," and everything. As opposed to like, "What are you doing? Like, this isn't 1985 anymore. Stop. It wasn't cool in 1985. It's not cool now. But there was like,
I will say this though, I did watch a lot of Yellowstone, and I did really enjoy it. I mean, it
I haven't
is
seen it yet. Yeah,
absolute nonsense, but I
yeah,
did really enjoy it. But I will attack it because it
yeah.
is the most ridiculous thing ever. That American TV is just like, what if rich people were the underdog to slightly richer people?
Yes.
Yeah,
Classic American story.
only
Right.
Trump, while he sticks gold baubles around the around the Oval Office like it's some kind of gaudy Vegas facade. Um, I couldn't believe it. It was on the news being like, they can't let this gold, but there's you can't make real gold. It has to be real gold. And I was just like, I have no idea. Like, what's he talking about?
Yeah.
What's he talking about? What's he talking about? Anyway, Matt, what this is what the next thing I want to say, and then we'll get on to the movies. Bedroom Eyes and Bedroom Eyes 2, The Revenge of Bedroom Eyes. Bedroom Eyes fights back. Bedroom Eyes 2, The Saga continues.
Or what was the other one?
No,
Was that Edge of Deception? What was that? The one that was oh, what was the movie?
it was Deceptions. It was Deceptions.
Deception
Then it was Deceptions 2,
2,
The Edge of Deception.
Right, so Bedroom Eyes 2, The Edge of Bedroom Eyes. Yeah, that's it.
The Edge of Bedrooms. Bedroom Eyes 2, The Edge of Bedrooms. Just the edge of bedrooms. They don't even add the eyes. Just
right.
Bedroom Eyes 2, the edge of bedrooms.
Yeah.
Someone peeking through the edge of a bedroom. Right. It all works out, Matt. It's genius. So this is my thing, right? So if I'm ever ferreted away, if people are like, oh, we don't like due process, we don't like the freedom of speech, and I'm ferreted away, disappear, like I'm not seen or whatever. And the news comes through or whatever that I'm in some prison somewhere, right, or whatever, or I've just been ferreted away, or news of my demise or news of my incarceration reaches the airwaves, right, and they come to you and they come to Kim and they come to people for like footage and photographs and stories and whatever. Here's what I'm saying. I only want the silliest of, like I told Kim, she is only allowed to share the most embarrassing and silly photos and videos of me to the main news press, because I want at some point, well, no, they have to show like the really embarrassing, like me, in just my shorts lying on a bathroom floor having, thrown up everywhere. Like, for those photos, coupled with me doing really silly things I want you and Mo and everyone to share all the silly stuff I send you at like 3 a.m, right? Because because I want at some point, someone to cut, like someone in passion, like a Cory Booker, come on, and have to sit there and go, this guy, we need this guy back. And it's just me like just being really stupid. He's like, Mr. President, this guy needs this is who we're fighting for, everybody. Like, I become like, people start carrying like banners with photos of me like stoned off my ass, like and they're like, this guy, it just says this guy with an arrow pointing, just this guy. I become like cause celeb, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, I was trying to think of I mean, there's so many good, like the music and stuff, like the songs of the characters. I mean, yeah, I mean, all of those. I think just to share those and be like, yeah, this is
this guy. because they would have no option. They were like, can we license any, like, do you have any good photos of him? Oh yeah, we have lots of good photos of him. Will you license them? No. The only photos you could have are ones where he's, got a saucepan on his head and
what's the one during the pandemic when we talked about Albert Pyun on your show, and we had these pictures of us with like Albert Pyun movies. It's like or something.
Those ones. They're like, wait, I'm sorry, does he like Albert Pyun movies? Listen, if it'll get him back to America, he'll say he'll like anything. I'll even say that Radioactive Dreams is worth a second watch. But yeah, but that's what I want to happen. So that's my other thing. Like, I just want to let you know. But while we've been talking, Matt, we've been talking, very interestingly, I got some spam mail.
Okay.
And I want to read it to you because this is incredible.
Okay.
Do you mind? Do you mind? I'm sorry for pushing this long.
That's okay.
Okay. First of all, it says, hello there with an R on the end. So there. Hello there. Okay. I'll take it. It's better than calling me a fuckwit or something. Anyway, I'm writing to you today to share with you a story written by nationally recognized retired Navy chief cryptologist, Dr. Chase Cunningham.
Okay.
He will be an excellent guest. They want him to guest on my show.
On your podcast.
On my podcast. I should do this. He would be an excellent guest discussing cyber warfare, AI, cyber attacks, and national defense. All the subjects, Matt, I love to talk about on the After Movie Diner. Yeah. Or the PM Entertainment Podcast. With more than 20 years experience in cyber warfare gained directly from the realm of cyber operations. The realm. The cyber operations, Matt, has a realm. Who knew that it had a realm? Good for it. Dr. Cunningham has worked in various operations by being on pause during cyber forensics, analytics. Analytics, sorry, my brain stopped working for a second there, and offensive and defensive cyber operations with the NSA, FBI, and other government agencies. I should definitely have him on my show, Matt. This is amazing, though. What's the story? ? By Winsome Entertainment Group, September 24th, 2021. I'm going to read you just the first couple of lines of the national story. A story. It doesn't say what kind of story. Just a story, Matt. Just sharing a story by nationally recognized retired Navy chief cryptologist, Dr. Chase Cunningham.
Okay.
So here's the first paragraph of the story, very quickly. In a world where everything is connected, AI is the ultimate threat. Violet McFerrin was one of the best and brightest in the U.S. Navy Cyber Corps. Violet McFerrin, Matt. That's who we're dealing with.
Don't worry.
Her technical skills. Her technical skills and a ferocious ability to win at all costs made her one of the first women to serve along the most elite special warfare operators in the U.S. military, the SEAL teams. I mean, Violet McFerrin. I can't wait. Is this going to be a series of adventure stories by retired Navy chief cryptologist Dr. Chase Cunningham, who, by the way, is nationally recognized?
Did they mention other shows he's been on, like the Alex Jones? Like, I mean, what else has he done? Like, Joe Rogan or something like that.
No, but they did tell me interview topics and interview questions.
Oh, so they want you. They have the questions for you.
Yeah, the question I've got to ask him first, what inspired you to write Gabriel, which is apparently the name of the story, and how much of the story is based on real-world cyber threats you've encountered in your career? There's a softball that you can prepare for weeks. Next, apparently we could talk about cyber warfare in fiction and reality, the future of cybersecurity and zero trust. Yeah. There's zero trust, Matt. All trust is gone. AI, cyber attacks, and national defense. Yeah, because of you guys, you fucking assholes, because you've been selling our fucking data to everybody. I mean, all trust is gone. Yes, because of you. Because you didn't do your job, Mr. former fucking SEAL member, psyche, chief cryptologist, whatever. Yeah, because of you, you big fucking liar. Yeah, and I'm so glad that went to my spam. That means that's fantastic. But it gave us some funny laughs for 5 minutes. But now I've deleted it. Because fuck that guy. And his fucking Violet McFerrin was a hot, sexy cyber warfare operative. You know, she was
that?
young and carefree, but she had a passion to win. You know?
Is it because like the book was like from blank entertainment group and they somehow used AI and it pulled in PM Entertainment Group and that's how I mean,
I have no idea, dude. Honestly, I don't know. But I
yeah,
get spam requests for interviews sometimes,
yeah,
and I should take them up on it. I want to
yeah,
speak to him and be like, all right, come on, ditch the dirt,
yeah.
Cunningham. Tell us, come on, where are the bodies buried and who fucked up so broadly that we ended up in the state that we're in, huh? Who didn't bribe the Supreme? Sorry, I get all Robert Ludlum. You know what I mean? I get all Clive Cussler or Robert Ludlum. I get all like, it was another day in Washington when lots of important things were happening, and I was incredibly sexy and interesting. A new Robert Ludlum thriller.
The Clive Cusslers, they used to be like in the grocery store. They'd be near the magazine section. Now it's like anytime you go to a used bookstore, there's like the mystery section, and it's like there's like a whole rack of Clive Cussler. Like the C's are just dominant. Like if you're a mystery writer with a C last name, you should just change it.
Oh, dude, secondhand bookshops are about to go through, like, because you can always think to yourself, secondhand bookshops, it's normally 15 to 20 years after the event, right? So that's when you get the books in. So most of the books you would go in, like a few years ago, it was like 90s and early 2000s. Well, we're about to hit the nadir of secondhand bookshops because it's going to be like just rows and rows and rows of like American what's like Clive Cussler's, Robert Ludlum's, the fucking Banks guy who did Angels and Demons or whatever his name.
Oh right, Da Vinci Code guy. Yeah,
Da Vinci Code guy. What's his name?
He grew up he's from near where I grew up, and he's from Exeter, New Hampshire. Dan something.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
Yeah,
yeah, but that guy, like we're about that, like it's gonna be Rose. I can't believe I spoiled that bit.
Yeah,
Dan Brown. That's it, Dan Brown. Sorry, so I'm going to do the bit again. In a few years, we're about to hit the nadir of secondhand bookshops because you're going to go in and it's just going to be rows and rows of like Dan Browns and Robert Ludlums and Clive Cusslers and shit that your dad is throwing out right now. You know what I mean? Like stuff he bought. Oh, you know, son, I know it's nonsense, but it's fun for when you're on holiday. Like I like reading all. You know, it's very exciting. You know what I mean? He's always running and jumping around Europe and shooting people. It's very exciting. And that's what you want when you're on holiday. You want, you know, some guy writing about like, you know, and then he streaked through the Vatican and stole a painting and wiped his dick on the Declaration of Independence or whatever. You know. By the way, I watched National Treasure. I watched National Treasure 1 and 2 again recently.
Yeah.
Those are fucking, they are such enjoyable nonsense. I mean, they talk about some highly polished, mirrored bullshit. Yes. Those movies. Oh my God. Catastrophically stupid.
Yes. Oh, they interviewed Nicolas Cage. I always talk about this interview I saw on Instagram where they were talking to him about like, you know, being an actor, like what are the challenges? He's like, the biggest thing as an actor is you've got to sell it. And he's like, you know, I'm in National Treasure and I'm reading the script and it says, I've got to say to my partner, we're going to steal the Declaration of Independence. And he's like, this is the most ridiculous thing ever. Who is stealing the Declaration? Who's doing that? But I got to go into this scene when they say action and I've got to sell it that this guy wants to. And I think that's the beauty of Nicolas Cage is that he can take the nonsense of a National Treasure. And now I'm not saying I'm buying it, but he's definitely selling it.
No, so I think, and I don't think he would ever admit this, but I think in National Treasure, he's doing his tribute, and I'm not joking. I think he's doing his tribute to like British comedy like Rowan Atkinson or those like Mr. Bean and trying to think of the other guy. But anyway, Nick Cage is playing it just that notch below parody and just that notch above normalcy. And he plays it so well that he's almost constantly looking at the audience without looking at the audience. Right. And it's sort of like a really interesting, he's doing some really interesting things in those movies. It's almost a parody. And it's because it's a parody, but it's in a big Disney blockbuster. It's so enjoyable to watch because you watch them try to keep a straight face while the dialogue is, "I'm going to steal the Declaration of Independence," and then his partner goes, "What do you mean you're going to steal the Declaration of Independence? The only way that we win this thing is if we steal the Declaration of Independence." Who's stealing the Declaration of Independence? And that's the whole, like, that scene goes on for 18 minutes.
Right.
They say Declaration of Independence in that film 7,581 times. I counted, and then I fell fast asleep for a week.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. One of the things I've been meaning to do for my solo podcast is Nicolas Cage's 4 kind of main 90s actioners are all on either Paramount or Netflix or Hulu, one of those. So you've got Snake Eyes, I can't think of, The Rock, Con Air, and then what's the fourth one? And then Face Off. All 4 of those are available.
Face Off.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so I thought about just doing a marathon. So I started The Rock, and I fell asleep to the very beginning of The Rock, where Ed Harris is doing up his outfit and looking at his wife's picture and getting ready to go, And that was when I fell asleep, and I haven't gotten back to it yet. But The
Rock is the Spinal Tap of action movies. They have turned everything up to 11. Everything is up to 11. It's such a parody of itself.
Yeah.
It sort of breaks your brain when you watch it because you're like, they're in on this joke. Right. They know that they are selling everything so incredibly hard and loud and powerful and whatever. It's so over the top that it reaches a level, I think, beyond parody. It's up into the heavens of comedy somewhere. I don't know.
I think I own the Criterion release of that. Criterion released that and Armageddon. I think I have the Criterion of The Rock somewhere kicking around. And so maybe I need to see.
They should have kept on that. They should have kept on that trajectory. They should have kept on that trajectory instead of where they went, which was a lot of snooty.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Oh, who's in the Criterion closet this week?
Right.
Oh, it's Bowen Yang from SNL. Of course it is. Oh, it's Rosanna Arquette. Oh, yes, of course it's Rosanna. Oh, and Griffin Dunn. Oh, we're doing both of them, are we? All right, Griffin. Oh, Werner Herzog. Werner Herzog has stopped by. Of course he has. He has. Oh, Bill Hader. Yeah. He's been past the closet. It's always it just keeps going, and you're just oh, Criterion, we get it. We know who you're trying to cater towards, and it's all fine. But I had a thought the other day, Matt. This was my favorite thought. What if James Spader was either in the Criterion closet as himself with his big paunch, it tucked into a waistcoat, while wearing a trilby and a flouncy scarf, right? And he's pulling stuff off the shelves, and he's saying stuff either how alluring Betty Davis's eyes are in All About Eve, or some such movie, or he'd be saying something like, "I've always adored Monica Vitti and Antonioni's La Notte," while wiping drool off his lip with his flimsy scarf. So that's how I imagine James Spader's actual Criterion closet. But I also thought, wouldn't it be funny if James Spader's Criterion closet was actually the beaded curtain in a sticky floored 1992 video store? And he just walks in his same outfit, big portly waistcoat, obscenely bald head. There's nothing settling about James Spader's bald head. It's only unsettling. It looks like a shorn scrotum. It is so unnerving. James Spader's baldness bothers me in dark places of my mind. Anyway, he's still there with the trilby and the obscene baldness and the waistcoat and the paunch and everything like that. And he just breezes through the beaded curtain, and he starts talking about very knowledgeably, scarily knowledgeably about, and eloquently about, the filthiest adult movies from the 70s imaginable. It'd have to be 70s, right, and most likely French. Yes. You know what I mean? It'd have to be 70s French pornography. Yeah. And he would just pick tapes up, and he would exclaim things like, "The things Bridget LaHaye could do with a spoon. My goodness."
That would be that would like just make you know what it would do is it would make the Criterion Closet obsolete. Like there's no way you can do another Criterion Closet after that, right? You can't watch Bill
Right.
Hader snoodily or Willem. Oh, it's Willem Dafoe. It's everybody's darling Willem Dafoe.
Yes,
right?
it's
Fresh off of a Nosferatu or whatever. Like look at him or
yeah.
Poor Things or whatever. Look at
Jim Jarmusch.
right.
Jim Jarmusch in the Criterion Closet. They'll get round to Jarmusch. If they haven't done Jarmusch already, he's coming.
Well,
he is coming.
Almost all of his movies are on Criterion anyway. So how would that work? He can't pick out his own? Because yeah.
And well, no, that would be the irony. The joke would be he would only pick out his own, and then he would get into an argument with Criterion as to why they don't carry the Dead Don't Die film. It's like the only one I think that hasn't come out in Criterion, and he just gets into a fight with the guy. But it's a very like loose, whispered hipster fight, but it's very evil.
Right.
Like he just gets like, so why don't you tell me, like, why is the Dead Don't Die not on Criterion? All my other films are on Criterion. No, tell me, fuck. Tell me. Hey, fuck. Tell me. Like he's just he goes into like a zen. He never raises his voice, but he's just like, hey, come here and say that. I'll fucking knife your eyes out. Come on, come here. It's just like a very kind of mumbled hipster fight. and then the guy from Criterion just comes over and lays him out with one punch.
I mean that would be the end of the Criterion Closet too. That might be why they never had Jarmusch, because they know it would be over. You can't do the Criterion Closet again after Jarmusch.
No, if Jarmusch is in the Criterion Closet, you've jumped the Criterion Closet shark.
Right.
Like you've taken it. It's like if Lars von Trier ever does a Criterion Closet. You've ended it. It's done. You can't out von Trier. It's just, you're done. You know what I mean?
That's why it's
von Trier and Jarmusch followed by Wes Anderson. You're fucked. You're fucked. You've killed it. Dead.
No, that's why they're safe with like a Hater. Bring in Hater. Oh, it's so cute. Oh, we love Hater. Oh, Hater's so great. Yeah. Oh, we're gonna pick out movies. Oh, I can't get enough of this. Retweet it. Blue sky it. Whatever. Give it all the hearts. Yeah, right. But when it's Jarmusch,
Matt's on a roll tonight.
Oh, what am I doing with Jarmusch? Millennial hipsters, I don't think know what to do with Jarmusch, and they adore. Hater. You can't. Jarmusch. They probably watched Dead Don't Die, and they were like, "Am I supposed to like this? Like, how? Can you tell me? Somebody tell me like what to do with this. I don't know what."
Could someone explain? Is this funny? I've not yet grown a sense of humor.
Right. I like Tilda Swinton, right? Like a Tilda Swinton samurai. That should work.
Where do we all fall on Swinton? Are we all good on Swinton? Tilda's our thing. Okay, good. As long as we're. Olivia Colman. We're still good with Olivia Colman. I know she's doing a remake of War of the Roses with Benedict Slumbercrotch, and nobody should care and nobody should go watch it, but everyone will, and it'll be a huge success. Just rent the Michael Douglas, Kathleen Turner one. They're both hotter people anyway. But Olivia Colman, though, we're still good with Olivia Colman. And the people come over and they're like, dude, we are good with anything. Just don't come for Adam Driver. Just don't. Driver is our boy. Right. You're not allowed to slander Driver. Why can't I slander Driver? He's terrible in everything. Mumbles. The whole guy's never raised his voice in his entire life. He has the same facial expression in everything. It's just, how does anyone think he's good at anything? Whoa, he was in the Marines. Yeah, okay, good. He was in the Marines. How lovely. And and he's a good person. Great, he's a good person. Do you know what, though? Doesn't mean that he's going to be compelling on screen. There's literally a scene in Black Klansman when a guy comes up to him and says, okay, but so Adam Driver's doing the whole thing like he always does, just mumbling through his nose. And the guy comes up to him because he's the white avatar for the black agent who's been infiltrating the Klan, right?
Yeah.
And the black agent is like, look, when they talk to me on the phone, like my energy is more up. I'm more up. You've got to be like more up, like because he's kind of training Driver. Yeah. And he says like, you've got to get your energy up. And I'm like, oh, okay. So the whole reason why the whole beginning of the movie he was just talking like this and half asleep. I was like, oh, that's because he's got to like raise the energy in the middle of the movie. Okay, I'm ready for this. I'm ready for Driver to raise the energy. And he went to the next like Klan rally or whatever, walked through the door, and I was like, oh, I'm ready for some energy, Matt. I am on the edge of my seat for some Adam Driver energy. And he went up to the like Grand Dragon of the Chaos Clan or whatever, and just went, and just mumbled through his nose again for the rest of the movie. I'm like, if someone can explain Adam Driver to me, I'll give them a shiny penny.
Well, because the thing is, he's like this generation's, or I guess our generation, because Tom Cruise is older than this, because he's like Tom Cruise in the sense that he's worked with everybody, right? Like Tom Cruise I think he's worked with everybody, but like, I think
what Drivers worked with all the hipster everybody's.
Right, exactly. But he's also worked with Scorsese. He's worked with
right.
Yeah, but like it's like that same idea that like there's this I guess there's one. So I'm trying to think who the one Cruise hasn't worked with that, like kind of the big ones who were born. I think it's Lucas. He's never did a movie with George Lucas. Out of that crew of like guys born in the 40s who made movies in the 70s and 80s. But he did Spielberg.
Did he do a De Palma?
He did. The first Mission Impossible was De Palma.
Oh yeah, shit. Yeah, of course. Yeah. That's back when Mission Impossible actually like had different directors and
right, exactly.
was more fun and enjoyable.
Right, because Woo did the second one, I think, right? John Woo did it.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. I mean, he did Color of Money with Scorsese. It's Driver's kind of the same thing. It's like you just put him in everything, and you're kind of like, okay, I guess I mean, hopefully he doesn't become like a Scientology twat or whatever that Cruise is.
Right.
But
Oh, and then you've got my arch nemesis. But he's not hipster. I mean, if he went into the Criterion Closet, everyone would just be like fall asleep. They wouldn't even understand. Well, he wouldn't even get near the Criterion Closet because unless Wes Anderson cast him ironically in something like he did with Chalamet in The French Dispatch. Oh, I'm ironically going to cast Timothy Chalamet in The French Dispatch. Only because he looks like Timothy Chalamet looks like the lint that Wes Anderson pulls out of his bathtub at the end of a week. Do you know what I mean? He just looks like the fucking. If you held up Wes Anderson's lint from his bathtub plug hole at the end of a week, he would just. It would go, oh look, it's Timothy Chalamet in The French Dispatch. But I don't think he would do this. But my arch nemesis, the arch nemesis of arch nemesis is Glenn Powell. Fuck Glenn Powell. Fuck Glenn Powell with a fucking everyone is so into. Do you know what I hate about Glenn Powell? What I hate about Glenn Powell is I saw Glenn Powell coming years ago. And I was like, oh, I see Glenn Powell off into the distance.
Yeah.
Please don't make Glenn Powell a thing. Please don't make Glenn Powell a thing. And then everybody made Glenn Powell a thing. And I'm like, why did anyone make Glenn Powell a thing?
Right.
Oh.
Well, it started, he was in the third Expendables. That was, with Stallone. And he was...
Yes, I know. I saw him coming in with Kellen Lutz.
That's what I thought. I thought Lutz has been, he's been delegated or relegated to... not delegated. He's been relegated to DTV. He does straight to Tubi movies now. Kellen Lutz. I thought that's where Glenn Powell was going to get, but he made that one movie with Sydney Sweeney, which made her blow up too. She became big.
I don't know Sweeney. I don't think I've watched anything with Sweeney in it, and if I have, it was a mistake.
That was Madam Web. Would have been. That's the one that I saw. So I almost watched a movie with her. I was watching. I was doing this movie. I was going to do this movie called Relentless because it had a woman who actually she was
John Nelson in it.
No, different Relentless. No, new Relentless. It's a new one from 2017. It's a hacky. It's a hacky trafficking movie. But I was going to watch it because it was a woman. I can't remember her name. Lauren. I can't think of her last name. She's a female stunt coordinator, and so I thought, okay, this could be interesting.
Okay.
I got 5 minutes in, and I was like, nope, this is racist, shitty, hacky stuff, and I turned it off. And I watched. Was it? Oh God, it was a Mimi Lesio's movie. I can't Push to the Limit. I think is what it was. I think it's what. And people like that better, so that's what I did instead. But Sweeney, she was in Madam Web. That was her. I guess her.
I haven't seen that.
You should see it.
And I have no idea. I've no idea who she is. I know that she's been on SNL. I know that she's all over Instagram. And I know that from just about everything that I've seen of her, and again, it's not a lot, but I imagine I would find her absolutely insufferable as a human being.
Yeah. I mean, she's not as bad as Glenn Powell. I mean, I see Glenn Powell doing these horrible...
Listen, Glenn Powell is...
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, do you remember Mark Blucas? Do you remember Blucas? He was in Buffy the Vampire Slayer when Angel left to go off and be Angel. she had a really boring boyfriend for like
Right.
2.5 seasons. And you were like, why are they keeping Mark Blucas around? Right?
Yeah.
He was such a he's just Blucasing up everything.
Right.
He's just a wall of impenetrable Blucas, right? So whenever Jim and I used to see something that just really bothered us, it would be like Mark Blucas. And talking about Tom Cruise tried to make Blucas a thing way back when he did Night and Day with Charlize Theron, right?
Or Cameron Diaz.
When he did Night and Day. Oh, Cameron Diaz. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes. When he did Night and Day with Cameron Diaz, Glenn Powell is like the fireman or whatever that they go to, who may have dated, I think, Cameron Diaz in the past or something like that. Anyway, and it's played by Blucas.
Right.
And you're like, wait, is Tom Cruise trying to make Blucas a thing? And Blucas never took off. It was like the only Hollywood movie he was in. He then went right back to being in whatever 15 different NCIS spin-offs or whatever the fuck it's, or one of those TV shows that's just called A City and then an accident. So it's just like, Baltimore Fire or whatever it is, or Chicago car crash. And then there's like 700 different versions of it. Yeah. Denver, man's face impaled on a railroad spike. And it's just Blucas is in one of those, I think. I don't know. Maybe he's not. But Blucas has probably been in one of those. And that's where Blucas belongs. Then cut to Top Gun 2, Maverick. Right? Who does Tom Cruise try to make a thing? Fucking Glenn Powell. And who becomes a thing? Glenn Powell. He tried it with Blucas. He failed, as he should have done, because he's fucking Blucas.
Well, there's this podcast that I listen to. This sports writer Ben Simmons, who's from the Boston area, but he's out in LA. He does like sports stuff, but then he'll talk about movies and stuff. And he gets on. I don't know if it's because he's older. He's born like in like 70, 71, and he wants to feel younger and feel like he's hip and into things. And he was just all over Glenn Powell, like, oh, Glenn Powell's like the newest thing. Glenn Powell's just great, But like, Timothy, he's like, oh, Timothy Chalamet, he's going to be like, But he'll even talk about other, like, oh, David Fincher, he's like one of like the 3 best directors living right now. It's like, what? Like,
yeah.
I mean, did you forget that even like Ang Lee is better than Fincher? I take that Pepsi challenge with his, but but it's like all these kinds of things. But Glenn Powell, he was just that's how I first heard of Glenn Powell. And I was like, how do I know Glenn Powell? Like, what is Glenn Powell? And then I started looking him up, and I was like, yeah, he was one of the people that I was angry was taking screen time from Wesley Snipes and Dolph Lundgren in Expendables 3. Like that was
right.
him.
Yeah. Expendables 3 is such a monumental blunder. Because that whole middle piece with the fucking tween brigade or whatever, you're like, I'm like, Mel Gibson, you could stab each of them in the face with a pickaxe right now. Like, you don't even have to take them back to the lair and hold them for ransom. Just put Ronda Rousey up against the wall, put a pickaxe in her face, and let's get on with this fucker. Because you know what? I don't care. You could have fucking shaved Glenn Powell, covered his entire body in honey, and released the dogs. I would have been there applauding you, because you know what I mean? The fucking Ellen Klutzes of the world, get them out of my Expendables movies. No. God damn you, Stallone. God damn you. I said God damn.
Yeah. I said God damn. Yeah. I don't even know what the mindset was there. It was like, oh, we're going to break Wesley Snipes out of jail just to not use him? Like, doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to have fucking Antonio Banderas being the best that he's been in decades, and we're only going to put him in like 3 scenes.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And
we're going to spend time with Kelsey Grammer. Because that's just, what is a bigger crime, Matt? I'm just, what is a bigger crime? Is a bigger crime going, here is Alan Klutz and Glenn Powell and fucking Ronda Rousey, deal with them? Right. Is that a big crime? Or is it that the person who rounds them up with Stallone for no apparent reason is fucking Kelsey Grammer? Right. You don't put Cynthia Rothrock, Don the Dragon Wilson, Jeff Speakman, or whatever in an Expendables movie, but I get Kelsey fucking Grammer.
Kelsey Grammer.
I was spitting mad, Matthew. I was spitting mad.
I know. The the only thing that was more sautéed in wrong sauce than the third one was the fourth one. But at least the fourth one, you get a good amount of Jason
Statham. The fourth one is horrible.
Yeah.
No, but the fourth one is the fourth one. The fourth one, I watched this and went, after the first scene, I'm like, guys, you should have watched the dailies from that scene and gone, let's cut our fucking losses, pay off the insurance, and go home. Yeah. There is no way any human being watched any one scene from that movie and went, let us put this out to market.
Right.
I mean, we're not getting a Batgirl movie, but we are getting, or Catwoman. Was it Catwoman or Batgirl?
What was the one that was the one that got shelved?
Batgirl. We're not getting a Batgirl movie, but we got Expendables 4 with Megan Fox and Jason Statham having a family spat. Like, you should have watched that sequence and gone, Jason Statham should have turned to Sylvester Stallone and gone, sorry, boss, I'm out. I gotta go make fucking movies with David Ayer where I play a fucking superhuman, fucking indestructible, bouncy man who doesn't like the fact that the woman he just fucking got conned out of $10 million or whatever, instead of, I don't know, calling the police and telling them what happened, topped herself. I mean, don't you know all that money is insured? And yet you're meant for me to be like, and then the whole movie, they go, so wait, he's a beekeeper. Yes, he's a beekeeper. And he also keeps bees. Yes, he keeps bees because he's a beekeeper. But also he's a beekeeper. And there was 15 scenes in that movie. Statham. There was a time when Statham was doing like one of these fucking movies, but then you at least got two like movies that he did in London where he was trying to stretch himself and where he was trying to be an honest actor, or he was like trying to do the sequel to Layer Cake and stuff like that. Like where he was trying to get his own productions off the ground and do something of worth while still trading in on his action abilities. And instead, we're going to get back-to-back David Ayer movies. Ugh.
Right.
And this time he's a working man. Everybody, if you haven't understood this already, he's salt the earth, a working man. Oh, and he's going to avenge the death of a Hispanic laborer. Oh, not white savior Jason Statham saving people who are so weak-willed they top themselves instead of either calling the police or calling the insurance company. Yeah. I mean, it's just
But it's better.
Matt, knighting. What happened to the world, Matt? What happened, Matt? What happened to the world?
It's more palatable white knighting when it comes from a guy with an English accent. That's the key. Right, it's not like Seagal white knighting. That's right. If he comes and goes, yeah, it's right. I'm your white knight, then or whatever. He comes in,
Oh, and apparently, Matt, according to the beekeeper, it's still all right to take a pop at South Africans. That's a minority we are apparently still allowed to beat up in movies because they literally have like an evil gang that like it's so stupid. The beekeeper is such a catastrophically stupid movie that it makes Bedroom Eyes and Bedroom Eyes 2 look like fucking Lord of the Rings.
Right.
Anyway, it's such a catastrophic. It's just so fucking stupid, the beekeeper. Yeah. It's so, they're like, he's the most elite of all the elite. He's not. He's a 55-year-old man who lives on a farm and keeps bees. No, he's the elite of the elite of the elite. And you've never heard of beekeepers. The only person who's heard of beekeepers is Jeremy Irons, looking like a rubber puppet of England's old Prime Minister, John Major. Jeremy Irons walking around looking like a rubberized version of John Major. And he's like, I'm the only person who knows all about the beekeepers because apparently I'm, whatever. And it is the most stupid film.
Yeah.
God, it's a stupid film. And then they send after him like this group of mercenaries. And of course, the lead, this is great. The lead guy, this is the guy who poses threat to Jason Statham, right? He's a one-legged South African guy. That's who's going to pose a threat to Jason Statham in a movie called The Beekeeper. I think not, Matt. I think not. But apparently we are allowed to take a pop at the South Africans. That's it. Everyone else, no. But South Africans were still allowed to take. So Musk is fair game still.
Right. Yes. Well, that's true. Well, yeah, he was always fair game. Yeah. So that's a good point. Exactly. I haven't seen The Beekeeper yet. I've kind of been meaning to.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I just spoil it for
Oh,
you?
you
I'm
didn't spoil it
sorry.
for me.
I
No,
just
no,
spoiled
I
it
don't.
for you.
I don't think you spoiled anything. I don't think. Yeah. No, I think everything was good there. I think, yeah. No, I don't think anything was spoiled there. But I do
Listen,
have
the
to watch
action
it.
sequences. The action sequences are great. I think we have a delay. I'm sorry. I keep
That's all right.
cutting you off, but
No,
I don't
I think we're
mean
good.
to.
We're good. Yeah.
I think we have a delay or something.
No, I think we're okay. Yeah.
Okay. What was I saying? Oh yeah. No, what was I saying, Matt?
Or
What
the
talking
action
about the
sequences.
beekeeper? What was it?
Using the action
Oh yeah,
sequences.
the
Yeah.
action sequences are really good. The action sequences are really good. He's a little bit of an indestructible John Wick type, but it's fine. The action sequences are really good. And you do get to see a bunch of like shiny suited tween hackers like get beaten in the face with staplers. You know what I mean? Like you get to see a few things where you're just like, yes. It's such a, by the way, it's such a late middle-aged movie. The whole thing, the whole movie is predicated on I don't like people scamming grandma and grandpa out of money by using evil digital tricks. You're like, yeah, that a fourth grader could understand if you just shut up for 5 minutes and let us explain how not to get hacked. No, but it's so confusing for grandma and grandpa. Why? Because they often get emails from Serbian princes asking for their life savings because he's going to give it back to them 5 times over. Yes, and I've said if you get hacked, then you're anyway.